Hi everyone, it's Tina. I have my hypothesis and reasons for it listed. Just a quick reminder, my topic was about obstructive sleep apnea and the effects of it on the cardiovascular system. So I've tried to narrow that down or make it more specific, I suppose. And so that my hypothesis now reads that the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea in patients with hypertension will affect cardiovascular events and the patient's quality of life. So, treating obstructive sleep apnea in patients with hypertension will affect cardiovascular events and patients' quality of life. Treatment will also decrease the burden of national medical expense. So, quick recap of obstructive sleep apnea. A patient with sleep apnea is breathing against a partially collapsed or fully collapsed airway. And when that happens, they're taking small, unsuccessful breaths, if any. And there's a buildup in the thoracic cavity. This intrathoracic pressure creates pressure on the heart and over time damages the heart. So my hypothesis is that treating the sleep apnea will in turn treat the hypertension and decrease future cardiac events. Hypertension is a contributing factor for the development of OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, in adult patients. Hypertension is the leading cause of cardiovascular disease. It affects 31% of the world. In the United States, it's estimated that 1 in 3 adults have hypertension. Patients that also have obstructive sleep apnea are 42%. Of those 1 in 3 adults, 42% have obstructive sleep apnea. In 2003, the Joint National Committee on High Blood Pressure noted that obstructive sleep apnea is one of the causes of hypertension. A study from 2018 resulted that of 215 patients with hypertension, 81.9% of them tested positive for obstructive sleep apnea. So, lots of evidence to support that hypertension and obstructive sleep apnea are bidirectional. If the development of one increases the chance of developing the other. And then once you have developed hypertension, then research also shows that the most long-standing hypertension ultimately leads to heart failure. And we know there's a big correlation of heart failure with obstructive sleep apnea. Nevertheless, there does remain a resistance by adult patients to seek out treatment for obstructive sleep apnea. And I want to dive into that and determine maybe some of the factors, risk factors, but also factors that create that situation. There's of course the overnight stay in the lab, but there are ways around that, and I don't think a lot of patients are given those other opportunities to test. There's the lack of provider education, and then there's the cost, of course. It's very costly, very timely to get started and get treated. Utilizing information from only the most noted comorbidities tied obstructive sleep apnea to an estimated $30 billion in the United States as far as cost. So I would think that treating the hypertension or treating sleep apnea in patients with hypertension would bring that cost down considerably over time. So these are my thoughts. That's my research where it's led me so far. Thank you for listening.